My name is Susan Noggle, and I'm the Executive Director of South Coastal County's Legal Services. I'm honored to be here to introduce Kenda to you today so that you can hear her story from her. I'm also here with two of the awesome legal aid lawyers who provided the services to Kenda. They're here to support Kenda in making her remarks to you today. Before I introduce her, I also want to express my thanks for all of the funding that the legislature has provided to legal aid to the Commonwealth over the past several years. It is obviously essential to the work that we do. I also want to thank all of you who are here to engage in supporting that investment in legal aid. So Kenda Cluff was referred to South Coastal Counties in 2016 by one of our partner agencies. She worked with 4 attorneys in our Bristol County office. 2 of them are here, Attorney Richard Peel and Attorney Diane Lawler. 2 of the other awesome lawyers who provided assistance to Kenda, Julianne Clark and Attorney Robert Mount, were not able to join us today. It is our great pleasure and honor to introduce Kenda to you. Thank you.
Where are you going? Yeah, right? I heard you guys were a friendly crowd, so keep it friendly. My experience in public speaking is at the municipal level. It's typically off the cuff and no one listens to me. And I have 4 children, they don't listen either. I'm going to be nervous and shaking, so forgive me. Thank you. So I was invited here today to share my experience of how legal aid had an impact on my life and the lives of my 4 children. Ultimately transforming it. Speaking here today is nerve-wracking. I'm probably changing colors. Tried to keep it covered up, but I really feel like it's a small price to pay to extend my gratitude. It's priceless, and it's something I could financially never repay. So I never saw myself as a victim. I grew up in a small conservative town in Oklahoma, and when I get nervous, my accent does come out. I don't think I ever knew anyone who needed legal aid. I couldn't have imagined one day that my family and I would need it to protect ourselves. Excuse me. My husband and I moved to Massachusetts in 2009 to be closer to his family. He had a job, and his family gifted us a portion of a down payment to purchase our first home to be near them. I didn't have an income of my own at the time. I was really busy at home with the children. He became violent towards me, actually, prior to moving to Massachusetts, but I thought I could manage it. He struggled with substance abuse and other issues as well. Sometimes it was worse than others. As time went on, he became increasingly violent and eventually attempted suicide in February, I believe, of 2015. So he continued to spiral, and despite my effort to really try to support him emotionally, he walked out on Christmas Day of 2015. My youngest was 6 months old at the time, 6 or 7 months old at the time, I believe. When he walked out, he took his income with him. He canceled his direct deposit and left us with nothing. He would show up at the house unannounced and at times would become enraged when he found out that there was food and provisions in our fridge and in our pantry that were provided from dear friends of mine, and that I was able to successfully obtain without his income and his support. The situation was becoming unmanageable as the time went on. A friend referred me to the South Shore Women's Resource Center in the town that I was living in. I went in desperation. I'd never walked into a facility like that. And I went in looking for diapers for my nursing baby. I went in looking for food for my 2 daughters and my son, who was 11 years old at the time. This is an emotional thing, man. My only options with no family living near seemed either despair or to let him back in the house, and that was not happening again this time. As I walked away from that resource center, tears flowing, fear was real, and it was flowing out of me. I realized what laid ahead of me, and I did not know how I was going to climb this mountain. I was able to obtain diapers, food, and a few other provisions from that resource center. And then they also gave me a contact for South Coastal County's legal services, a contact that would later become priceless. I had been trying to figure out how to get a restraining order, how to file for divorce. I filled out the intake form on the website, and one of the questions that was asked was my income, and that was a big fat 0. Around that time, I started looking into the history of my relationship with my ex, and started digging into some police reports that had actually been filed in the previous home state that we had resided in. It was, he was charged with some different things, and the state actually filed charges against him on my behalf because I had chosen not to. But in the police reports were very detailed descriptions of the violence that had been taking place in my home and what my kids had seen and experienced. And I had no memory of that. That blew my mind. I'd never read those police reports, and those were my words in those police reports. When I first met the legal aid attorneys, they told me that a typical divorce, an average divorce, takes 13 months, and I didn't have time for that. Was weeks. We need weeks here. That was it. Little did I know that I would be working with them and they would be providing me representation for over 3 years, 40 months to be exact. They helped me file restraining orders. They helped me file for divorce. My attorneys and I went to a lot of hearings. We couldn't come to an agreement with my ex and his powerful representation. The proceedings dragged on and finally went to trial. The judge awarded me sole legal custody of all 4 children. Our only asset was the home, and the judge awarded me half of the proceeds from the sale of the home that had actually taken place a year and a half prior to the final judgment. Those funds sat in escrow that entire time. I was desperately in need of those funds in order to move my family and me forward. When we had moved out of the house, I had no money to go anywhere. I was faced with actually researching options for homeless shelters for my family. And my aunt, she actually started a GoFundMe page in an effort to raise first, last, and a security deposit for the kids and I. We were successful. I thought the divorce settlement would have been the end of it. I was very, very wrong, unfortunately. My ex-husband brought a claim against me for the money that my aunt had raised in the GoFundMe page. Before the end of the divorce proceedings, my ex-husband's family, his parents, sued me in district court, claiming that the gift they had given us to help us towards the down payment of our home was actually a loan and was due back to them. They also claimed that I wasn't eligible for legal aid. They actually claimed that I should not be represented by South Coastal Legal Services. The lawsuit kept my portion of the asset held in escrow long after the judgment of the divorce was decided in probate court. The claims were clearly false, and the judges agreed. The case involving my ex's parents also went to district court, and the jury ruled in my favor in April of last year. I did not have to give my divorce settlement away. In fact, instead I was able to use it for a down payment on a new home. I had entered into a lottery. The kids and I won an opportunity to purchase an affordable home, and in May, a month later, the kids and I were able to move in. Those 3 years were a spider web of messiness. I could not have found my way through it without these amazing and competent attorneys, lawyers. I'm not sure what you guys prefer. They made me feel safe, and they made me feel supported. Even when things were at their worst. I was attacked left and right. I couldn't have handled that on my own, and the other side, the other representation, would constantly want to play games, and we didn't. We kept, my attorneys, they didn't participate in that type of experience, and I walked away with a sense of pride with that after the fact. I had a kind of a new understanding and a new likeness of attorneys and lawyers. At times, I would feel like we were losing just because of the games and everything, but they remained undistracted. They always stuck to the facts. They kept the main thing. They were already introduced, some of them are here today, and I just thank you so much for what you guys did for me and the kids. I couldn't have done that without you guys. You provided me with a solid foundation in the judicial system that I would not have been able to navigate without you. My kids and I, we live in a new home now. We're in a safe neighborhood. I have a career. I work in municipal finance as a tax assessor. Everybody loves those, right? Especially this time of year. I never saw myself as someone who would need legal aid or other services like food. I used to struggle with that, but now I know it's okay, and it was temporary. It was a means to an end, and it helped my family. It provided a stepping stone to remove us from an awful situation. Looking back, I can't believe what we went through living with that abuse and the unpredictability. Now, being a single mom with 4 kids feels easy. You know me, people that say that? We have peace and we have security in our home. I know there are many people out there who are desperate to get out of awful situations like mine. The work these legal aid lawyers do matters. It's important. It has a generational effect. My children's lives are completely changed because of this. Without the help of legal aid, my 3 daughters, they would think that living with abuse is okay. My son would think abandonment is okay. It's not. I've given them a new opportunity in life. We have shifted the direction of our lives because of it. These types of changes have a ripple effect in this world. It really does. I have no idea how much you guys would have cost. I don't want to know. But I do know I would not have been able to afford it. And researching those homeless shelters would have become a reality of our family. And I'm not sure what that would have looked like after. But it's priceless to me. What you guys did was priceless. So it is my hope that in sharing my story in front of so many unfamiliar and friendly faces, that it will help a mother out there who refuses to take another turn in the cycle of abuse. To let them know that they have an option, that they matter, that their families matter, that they have a future, Standing here today with all of my fears and speaking to you is a very small price to pay. Again, I would do it again. We have an opportunity to make an impact on people's lives, and I feel like that it is our duty as humanity that we do so. We are together in this world, and we should act as such. Thank you.